It's time for the drive with Q on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Now, here's Q.
Good evening, everyone. 5 o'clock straight up on a What the Frig Football Friday edition of The Drive with Q, coming at you live inside the friendly confines of the SR 102.9 FM studios, part of Coastal Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones, mi hermano, Angel Martinez, behind the glass, producing the show, keeping us on the air. 60 plus to play with on this 22nd of November. And as always, don't forget, chime in on the conversation, bring something to the table, 727-858-6650. So we've got a substantial amount of stuff to get into on this Friday. A lot of stuff to get into on this Friday. We've got 60 plus to play with, as I alluded to. Hope everyone had a good sports week. We'll do the picks in about 40, 45 minutes or so. I want to kind of dive into a little bit of the NBA and again, my thoughts on why Joel Embiid is such a friggin' dog for the Philadelphia 76ers. We talked about the Jets earlier in the week. If you missed, we pre-recorded with Lloyd Vance, a Tuesday edition of The Drive, late at night, and we talked about the Joe Douglas firing, the GM of the Jets. And then the news comes down today with the second debacle, that is the New York Football Giants. We already knew they were going to bench Daniel Jones. And then the news comes out earlier this morning that Daniel Jones wanted to talk to the brass about getting released. He requested his release from the Giants. The Giants obliged. They outright released Daniel Jones. I'll get into the significance, the money-wise, the cap-wise, the salary, the dollars and cents. But there's a sentiment here where when you have a player that comes out like Daniel Jones did yesterday, 6 overall draft pick, it was a stretch, it was a reach, it was a bad pick, and Daniel Jones has a prepared statement, and the kid did everything the right way. And I've been very critical of Daniel Jones. I wanted this kid to succeed so badly in New York. And I told you, he was just like that girl you date, you want to fall in love with, but you just don't trust her here and there, but she pulls you back in. That was Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones had some really good moments with the Giants and a lot of bad moments. And the bad moments outweighed the good moments, and that's one of the reasons he's no longer quarterback of the New York Giants. That's one reason, or many of reasons, that he's no longer with this franchise. And listen, if you're going to demote the kid and you stick him to scout team, and whether he said, look, I just want to, be part of the team or be out there for my teammates, and now you bury him in the depth chart. I wasn't a fan of that, but I cannot come on the air after I've ripped him and ripped this organization for the past 6 years, 5+ years, and tell you that, the Giants did him dirty. I don't think that's the case. The Giants actually did him a solid and a favor. And you know what? He actually did right by going to Mara. This is not, well, you're kind of going through the GM or you're not going through the head coach. No, he had respect for John Mara. So he went to Mara's office. He asked for his release. Look, the handwriting was on the wall. I told you this ad nauseum. When they were 2-7, 2-8, he was going to get benched. And when he was going to get benched, you were going to stick him in bubble wrap. Why? Because you didn't have to pay him if he gets hurt. That's life in the NFL. This is the new norm. Palmer went through it. Carr went through it. Kaepernick went through it. They're not going to play you. They don't want to pay you. God forbid you get hurt and I'm on the hook. It just doesn't make sense. We've seen this now with other quarterbacks over the years. So again, this is not something where this is not a, oh my God, look, it didn't pan out, man. It didn't work out. And again, I don't believe, and I'll get to ESPN in a little bit and just a clown friggin' show and just the jackasses that love to just piss on parades and kick a man when he's down. But the bottom line is this: in the NFL, when you're a franchise quarterback and you're taking top 10, top 5, top 6, the expectation is you're going to ball out and you're going to be a franchise quarterback for 10 years. I don't care who it is. You might not pan out with that original team. And I'll give you examples. Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, resurrecting their careers. Have they not? Geno Smith, resurrecting his career. Different place, change of scenery. Sometimes it does you good. But in this case with Daniel Jones, he gave the Giants a flicker, a moment. A couple seasons ago, they went on the road and they beat Minnesota. Other than that, when you play Carolina and Germany and you worked on a play probably 17 times during the week on a flea flicker. Now, granted, the offensive line got blown up on the play, but Jones doesn't see the wide receiver streaking down the middle of the field. And Brian Daboll, the head coach, goes nuts. You just knew. You just knew it was a matter of time. Part of me, like I said, I think too, and it's funny because everyone's been texting me, where do you think he's going to land? Where, and I joked, it's fitting. He'll go to the Eagles. They'll lock up the number 1 seed or the number 2 seed. They'll have a bye. They'll turn around. They'll rest Jalen Hurts. He'll come out the last game of the season and he'll light up the Giants. I actually want Daniel Jones to go on and have a really nice career. And if that's as a backup, if that's as a viable option as a starter, I like the kid. He just can't be the quarterback anymore of the New York Giants, and he's not. But this is what happens when you make a miss in the NFL. This is what happens when, again, you have GMs that don't know what the hell they're doing. So when you hear the old school and the players sit there and say, you make a mistake at the quarterback position, you're going to get set back for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Guess what? They're 100% correct. 100% correct. Once in a while, you can turn around and you can make a move and you say to yourself, hey, this quarterback might work out. Look what's going on in Pittsburgh with Russell Wilson. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be a good fit. Now, granted, they lost last night. Fun game to watch in the snow, unless you had the under. Cleveland made a nice little run, got a big win. And conversely, Joe Flacco was winning games for the Browns last year. Jameis Winston's winning games for the Browns this year. There's no way you're going back to Deshaun Watson. So Jameis Winston resurrecting his career a little bit. So listen, you got to get through waivers. Then you'll see exactly what happens. Who knows? Will there be a team out there, a playoff-ready team? I've got some thoughts on that as well. But ultimately, if you don't perform in the NFL, and to be, again, I'll say this to also be fair. The organization they didn't do him any favors when you keep going through head coach to head coach to head coach and different offensive schemes and the offensive line. But when you put it together, and if you're good enough, you have to figure out a way to make it work. You have to figure out a way to take on your teammates and raise their level, right? And maybe he turns into a Rich Gannon type of quarterback or Jimmy Plunkett, second arc of that career. Hell, if he had a Jared Goff career, he'll take it. Look what Geno Smith's been able to do. Baker Mayfield. I don't know. He's going to be fine. He handled it the right way. But again, it's something that I premised and I preached on the air for years. You have to have the right GM in place. You have to have the right head coach in place. You have to have the right roster in place. Everything's got to work. Even the great teams in the NFL, they've got what? The head coach, the coaching staff. They got the quarterback. They got the players. You have to have it. And if the GM is lapsing that, if the GM can't figure it out, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble. And where this team, and you got to look forward, right? You can't always just look back, but where this team really screwed themselves was 2018. You don't draft Saquon Barkley. You don't draft Saquon Barkley number 2 when Josh Allen's sitting there. You don't draft the running back like that. You're squeezing a couple more years, a little juice out of Eli Manning. It didn't pan out. But if we know anything about the NFL, we see retreads. Hell, Joe Flacco was on the sofa and he found work. Jameis Winston is finding work. Daniel Jones won a playoff game on the road. Not a lot of quarterbacks can say that. Baker Mayfield resurrected his career. Jared Goff looks like an MVP. There's a market for him. It's just a question of where. So we'll dive into that a little bit. Last night, Thursday Night Football, ugly game, fun to watch in the snow. Cleveland pulls off the upset. They were dogs in that game. Pittsburgh struggled a little bit. Look, you want to factor in the weather, so be it. That's a big win for Cleveland. That's a bad loss for Pittsburgh. It makes things a lot more interesting in the AFC North. A couple of you guys are already chiming in on Facebook asking me where I think some landing spots are for DJ. We'll get into that. You got week 12 already in the NFL. And you got some injuries. You got some hits right here. Philadelphia is dealing with some injuries. Devontae Smith not going to be available. I think that's going to be a tricky spot for them against the Rams. You got some more head coaches that are on the hot seat. You got the mess with the Jets. Rex Ryan openly petitioning, basically coming out saying that he wants to be the next head coach of the New York Jets. And it's funny because I don't know, are you coming full circle here? The New York Jets decide we're going to fire Robert Saleh. It doesn't work out. It's been downhill since. Then they realize Aaron Rodgers, the whole world can see Aaron Rodgers is not healthy. Aaron Rodgers is not a healthy quarterback right now. Aaron Rodgers is a shell of himself. He's a shock quarterback. He's not making things easier. And then add insult to injury, then you turn right back around and you fire the GM who's going to land on his feet. But again, this shows you, okay? This shows you that you need the right people in place. There are players in the NFL that I believe have talent. I also believe that good coaching and a good roster helps cultivate that talent. Baker Mayfield, and it's fitting too, right? Think about this. Daniel Jones's first game as a starter, it was probably one of the all-time great debuts. Down 17 on the road to Tampa Bay, accounts for 4 touchdowns. The last one on a 4th and goal, scrambling in, making throws. That's when the Danny Dimes was created. That was against Tampa Bay. Well, obviously benched and now released. Giants have Tampa Bay. Who are they taking on? Baker Mayfield. Reclamation project, Baker Mayfield. Yes? Geno Smith bounced around. Jets can't figure it out. Cup of coffee with the Giants. Started in place of Eli when they decided to bench him, which was a horrible move at that time. Reclamation project. Jared Goff. Remember the knock on Goff? Can't read defenses, doesn't have an arm, can't process, the plays quick enough, can't see over the lineman. Here we go. Jeff Fisher, hands are tied. Reclamation project. Now he's with Detroit. He's playing like a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. He's playing like a perennial All-Pro, an MVP level caliber quarterback. Maybe the Trey Lances and the Justin Fields, who knows if they're going to develop in quarterbacks. I think Daniel Jones is a talented quarterback. I think he's got some talent and athleticism. I think it's a bad fit in New York. And I think to answer the question for some of you guys right now, and I know Trevor chiming in 727-858-6650, I think sometimes you always can use a fresh start and a change of scenery. And I also think there are a couple landing spots. I'll give you a couple right now. I joked, yeah, Saquon will make a push for Daniel Jones. He's better than Pickett, by the way. But 2 things. If I'm Daniel Jones's agent, I'm telling Daniel Jones, listen, I would want you, and you do what's best for you and your family, but I would want you to go to a team that has a stud quarterback and a really good coaching staff, and you can learn, and you can hold the clipboard, and you can kind of reinvent or rehab the image, so to speak. So a couple teams I think of right away. San Francisco, because Purdy's banged up. And we know about the head coach in San Francisco. Now, Kansas City's not going to get rid of Carson Wentz, but you see him behind Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Maybe Miami, to his injury history, I don't know. But 2 of the other dark horses I'll give you. Denver, which means they probably have to cut Zach Wilson, and I don't think Sean Payton's going to do that because Sean Payton went on the record basically saying, I'm going to get this kid paid. The other team, the Chargers. You got a real good quarterback, a young quarterback in Herbert, and you got a hell of a coach right now turning that organization around in the Chargers, and they're right there in the mix. So if it's me, everyone's joking, go have the Dallas Cowboys sign him, and then he, takes on Dallas and Tommy Cutlets and, Tommy DeVito on Thursday when the Giants take on the Cowboys, which is going to be a shit fest of a game at 4:30. Enjoy your turkey. I wouldn't do that. Or the Raiders or Carolina. If the ego is there and you want to play, so be it. But I probably want to land in a spot where I can learn a little bit and just kind of recharge the batteries, if that makes sense. I don't know if I want to go to a place. I mean, look, maybe Carolina, they want to find out, can you push Bryce Young. Andy Dalton's a veteran. He's probably going to be retiring, maybe after this season. I don't know. So point being is there's a place in the league for a guy like Daniel Jones. But as a Giant fan, as a lifelong Giant fan, I've gone through the dreck of the touchdown Tommy Maddox, of the Dave Browns, of the Kent Grahams. I mean, this is as bad as it gets. And I think this is where business decisions take over, right? I don't know how they're going to respond on Sunday. And maybe this kid gives them a little juice, a little bit of a spark. They're not a good football team. I expect Tampa Bay to win this game. Tampa needs this game. It's a big game for Tampa. I mean, the playoffs right now, if you're looking in the NFC, you've got the Philadelphia Eagles at 8-2. I'll give you another landing spot for Daniel Jones. Very good head coaching staff and a good quarterback and a talented quarterback that almost, the skill sets a little bit, but Washington. That's another potential. And they're 7-4 and they're trying to regroup. Then you have Detroit. The Lions are pretty much, I think the Lions right now have the potential to win 13 games, 14 games. They should lock up that number 1 seed. They can't trip up. They've been on fire. They won 8 straight. I don't see the Lions at all over the next 3 weeks. They might be tested against the Packers. They're going to get tested against the Bills. But this team, in another month, they should be a 12-1 squad, pretty much locking up the number 1 seed in the NFC. And I don't see a team going to Detroit, i.e. the Philadelphia Eagles, and beating them. I just don't. You got to score 25 to 35 points. NFC South, as I mentioned, Carolina, as crazy as it sounds, they're 3-7. They're a couple games back. Atlanta 6-5. Tampa Bay is 4-6. Saints are 4-7. Arizona, the Rams. This is a big game for the Rams against the Philadelphia Eagles. So in the NFC, it's we're ratcheting up a little bit, if that makes sense. Then in the AFC, the Texans are trying to distance themselves. Kansas City is going to win the West, but the Chargers are right there. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, here we go. Cincinnati's done. Cleveland got a nice win. And then in the AFC East, Buffalo's running away with it. The picture's a little more clear in the AFC. It's a little more clear in the AFC. But the NFC, I think the picture gets a little more cloudy. And listen, for the Eagles fans, for the Philly fans that chime in, this is not a gimme game for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not. I mean, the Rams, they are your definition of an enigma. You can't figure this team out. And listen, in that arena, in that field, in that stadium, you can maybe get in a little bit of a track meet. Right now, Philly's laying 3. I mentioned they're dealing with some injuries. The Huff injury, Smith injury. I mean, these are, like I said, these are tough injuries at this stage of the game, this late in the season, but good teams figure out a way to overcome those types of injuries. And we're seeing it across the board. San Francisco's dealing with injuries. Baltimore's a little banged up. Pittsburgh is a little banged up. Kansas City's starting to get some players back. Look out the rest of the league. That was a big win by the Bills over Kansas City. I think, Pittsburgh's a flawed team, but a good team. Baltimore's a flawed team, but a good team. Kansas City's a good team, but they're a flawed team. I don't see juggernauts this year. I don't. Maybe you guys do. I don't see juggernauts this year. Kevin on Facebook. Q, excellent points on Daniel Jones. I still go back. I'm trying to figure out what the hell went wrong with Daniel Jones. I think the fact that the Giants recycled coaches, coaching staff, and rosters over the last several years hasn't helped this kid. John Mara said we ruined this kid. Yeah, listen, it's a good point. But again, this kid was not going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. He just wasn't. He didn't really move you in college. He didn't move the needle. And he had a nice couple plays here and there and a couple runs with the Giants. I mean, it was 6 years of basically inconsistent football. And the fact that he was drafted number 6, we've seen this before, have we not? Josh Rosen, right? I mean, bust. I mean, at least Daniel Jones showed a little bit of flash, but when you're 22, 44, and 1, that's not good. That's not good. And I said this, I kept preaching this. Once they went to 2-8, all bets were off, and they're benching them. You can tell when you're watching a game on a Sunday, again, how aggravated a coach can get on the sidelines, right? And animated and angry and just it never clicked. It was a bad fit. It was a bad fit. It never clicked. And the head coach with the theatrics and beat red face and this and that. I mean, you go through Shermer, I'm sorry, McAdoo first with Eli, squeeze a couple years, won it Patrick Mahomes. Then you go to Shermer, colossal mistake, didn't like Eli, let's push for Jones. Then from Shermer, you go to Judge, who is a complete jackass of a bully. That didn't make any sense. And now you got Dable. And you got a GM. And this is why, and again, Tom and Summers Point chiming in on Facebook and also on X asking me, what's the benefit of doing it now? Basically, to paraphrase, I'm telling you the benefit of doing it now. Because God forbid, if I'm a GM and I know I'm on the hot seat, or if I'm an owner and I haven't made up my mind about the head coach and the GM, perfect example, who's one of the best GMs out there when it comes to the money, the contracts, manipulating the cap? It's Howie Roseman with the Philadelphia Eagles. Howie does a fantastic job. Like him, love him, don't like him, loathe him. He does an excellent job manipulating the cap. That's his strength, figuring out the numbers. If I'm not sold on my GM, there's no way I want to keep Daniel Jones locked in going into the offseason and then my GM having to make a decision, because ultimately the owner is going to sign off on the GM. The head coach gives their input, but the GM, the general manager, they're the one that really says, hey, this is the move we should or shouldn't make. I don't want them making those decisions. So if John Mara is not sold on the GM, Joe Shane, and if he's not sold on the head coach just yet, you make this move now. Why? Because you got 7 weeks left. What the hell do you need this kid to hang around for 7 weeks? It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. None. Paul in North Jersey chiming in. Q, excellent monologue. It seems like Jones just basically quit on the Giants. That's not the case. And I appreciate that. No. He wants to play, but he realizes I'm not going to play for 7 more weeks. I don't want to be this distraction. It's demoralizing. I know it's a business move. I know you're not going to play me. Let me try to latch on and salvage my career. And the Giants did right in that regard. The rest of it, they screwed up. 727-858-6650. Let's see what the guys have to say as well. 727-858-6650. Trevor chimes in. Can Jones benefit from a fresh start? Is it the end for DJ? No. I gave you a list of quarterbacks, right, that have had that second arc in their career. And some quarterbacks, believe it or not, they don't peak right away. It might take 4 or 5 years. I use the example of Rich Gannon, right? I mean, Rich Gannon bounced around a little bit, then turned into an MVP. Jim Plunkett, Heisman Trophy winner, New England, San Francisco, found a home with what? The Raiders, won a couple Super Bowls. Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, right? Jameis Winston, Geno Smith. Geno Smith was ostracized. Sent him over to Fantasy Island. See ya. Banks wins, gets paid. Right? Final nail in the coffin for San Fran. No Purdy, no Bosa. Yeah, it is just not the 49ers. Me, Danny Bezos. It is just not the 49ers season, man. I mentioned this. You go to so many playoff runs, right? And you have so many great runs, and you get to NFC Championship, and then you lose Super Bowls in heartbreaking fashion. I don't know, man. I think it's that Super Bowl loss hangover for San Francisco. They're not a juggernaut. They're not the same team that basically broke the Philadelphia Eagles last year. They're not. They had the bad loss against the Vikings. They had the bad loss against the Rams. That was a late loss. I mean, think about this. Think of all these late losses by the 49ers this year. They lost by what? 1 to the Cardinals, I think late. They lost by 3 to Seattle. They lost by 6 to Minnesota. They lost by 3 to the Rams. You got a healthy roster and you make some plays late, and we know about the head coach. Maybe they're a 7-win team. Penguin AZ, good afternoon, Q. Glad to be back. I'm on YouTube, Penguin. Appreciate you, pal. What's up, Q? How you doing, buddy? Glad to hear you back talking again. Well, I mean, I always enjoy talking, Gas Pump Guy. I guess they mean like back on the air on a Friday. We just had a What the Frick Football Friday. Glad you're talking. Did I lose my voice, Angel? I think my voice is fine. Did it? Tommy Cutlet's dead cat bounce on Sunday. What the hell is that? Wait, what is that? What? We gonna have to ban Trevor? Wait, Peter gonna get involved here? Detroit, closest thing to a juggernaut, Ballsley. We have a special guest joining the show. I can't with you goofballs on a Friday. By the way, these lines this weekend, hmm, 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 hmm. Overblown. Larry in Cataract on Facebook chiming in. Q, always enjoying the show. I know you're a passionate Giants fan. It's got to be killing you that they suck this bad. What do you think is going to be the result of this? Do you think Joe Shane's going to last? Do you think Brian Dable's going to last? Is there any chance that they fire both and go after Deion Sanders? Oh, God, no. Isn't it almost set up where Sanders, his son, like it's going to be like a package deal to Dallas? And I know as much as everyone always kind of pushes back when I say that, McCarthy's done. He's dead man walking. Deion is going to control the narrative where Shador goes or where he's going to get drafted. Now, here's a couple things. I had this conversation with my buddy, and I want to hear what you guys think. 727-858-6650. We believe that Shador Sanders is going to be a bust. I look at him. I think he's a talented quarterback. I don't sit there and say he's a special quarterback. I don't sit there and say the last generational quarterback that I can recall coming out of college was Andrew Luck. And the offensive line betrayed him and the injuries caught up to him. I look at these quarterbacks in this draft, no one blows me away. So the reason I bring it up is because sometimes the smart thing to do is to get rid of that pick. That's what I would do. A on Twitter chimes in on XQ. It's a really good point you made last week that the benching makes sense, and so does release. He was never going to play for the Giants again. If you look at the salary, it's already guaranteed. He'll receive the rest of it. Nothing guaranteed next year, only an injury guarantee that's not going to be triggered. He can sign elsewhere. I think the Giants did right, and you brought up some really good points. He can still play in this league, but he can't be quarterback for the Giants. Thanks, A. But I believe that if you go to Tankathon right now, so if you guys pull that up, or I'll actually pull it up for you. So the NFL mock draft. Right now, Jacksonville has the top overall pick. Tennessee's number 2. The Giants are number 3. Vegas is number 4. That's a team to watch. Cleveland helped out those teams by getting a win. So do we believe that Jacksonville needs a quarterback? Or if you're the Giants, do you make a move for, say, Trevor Lawrence, or you try to bring in a bridge quarterback? That's number 1. Tennessee, going to need a quarterback. Then the Giants sit there at 3. Now, the Dallas Cowboys right now are 3-7. They're a top 10 pick. If you look at mock drafts, I just feel as though it's set up like I'm very weary right now of the Giants having the top overall pick or a top 5 pick and selecting a quarterback. Nowhere is it written that you have to go and draft Sanders or Ward or the kid from Alabama. But mock drafts, a couple mock drafts, have Sanders going to the Giants. I don't know. I mean, Jacksonville right now, you're looking at Travis Hunt, number 1, McMillan, the wide receiver, number 2. You had Ward, number 3 to Cleveland, but forget it now because the Giants are in that spot. So Ward and or Sanders. Point being is none of these quarterbacks in this draft, and if you guys feel different, let me know. They don't blow me away. So I would trade that pick down, collect assets, get a bridge quarterback, maybe Sam Darnold, maybe Captain Kirk. Maybe look at Trevor Lawrence. You think Daniel Jones starting quarterback or a good backup? I think he'll start again in the NFL. I do. Is he going to be a 10-year starter? I don't know. He will sign with a team. Obviously, he comes in as a backup right away. But look at these quarterbacks. They all get injured, right? Jalen Hurts, injury prone. Well, he's been banged up, let's say. Jordan Love, banged up. Anthony Richardson, banged up. Jaden Daniels, banged up. Trevor Lawrence, banged. Quarterbacks get hurt, man. That's why he needs to decide, am I going to go to a spot where I can resurrect my career and learn? Or, like, you don't want to go to a bad spot and have piss poor coaching, like a dysfunctional franchise. What is that? How does that serve you? That does no good. The Raiders are a joke. Carolina's a joke. You just can't go somewhere to go somewhere. I know the ego and you want to play but you're not going to come in as a starter unless somebody goes down. And I mentioned a couple of these maybe Miami. I don't know, with Tua and his concussion injury. Who knows? Daniel Jones with an offensive line slinging it with those weapons and a ground game and a head coach that's innovative. See, you also need a head coach that knows exactly the right buttons to push. That's why, like Deion Sanders, everyone's talking about Deion Sanders going to the NFL. Deion Sanders going to Dallas Cowboys. Where's it written that's going to happen? Why? Because Michael Irvin said the other night to Jerry Jones during the Tyson Paul broadcast, hint, hint, wink, wink. It makes too much sense. And then you got the issue of, all right, do I want to coach against my kid? Or Travis Hunter? I don't know, man. If the check clears, Jones to the Raiders, I don't see it. I mean, maybe he does sign with the Raiders. I'm just saying, if you're going to, if I'm advising him, take your time, man. Take your time. And again, I don't want to make it sound like this guy's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's not. It hasn't panned out. But this is the NFL. We retread quarterbacks constantly. We retread quarterbacks all the time. Joe Flacco sitting on the sofa and he gets a friggin' job. Carson Wentz is back in the NFL. He's a backup in Kansas City. You gotta put it in perspective, folks, right? All right. About 33 past the 5 o'clock hour. We'll get into week 12. We'll start to preview these games. Couple more tweets coming in as well, Facebook messages. I will also give you my thoughts. And we'll get back to your 727-858-6650 on the other side because I can see the wise-ass comments coming in. Also, I went again to the picks at 5:45-ish. Also, just the debacle that is friggin' the classlessness of the mothership ESPN. We'll dive into that as well. We'll take you up to 6-ish on a What the Frig Football Friday edition of The Drive with Q right here on SR 1029 FM The Game.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontb.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, The Game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game app and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
All right, Friday edition of The Drive with Q Rich Communis here. Angel Martinez behind the glass, SR 102.9 FM. You guys are explaining to me the dead cat bounce. Hold on, it was just text to me. Hold on. I thought maybe PETA was getting involved. Dead cat bounce equals political term. The candidate receives a spike in the polls after they have a personal tragedy. Oh, so you know what? I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole. Never mind. I'm just, we talk sports on this show. Yeah. When George and Seinfeld's like, whoa, back it up. Boop, boop. Jerry's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm backing it up. 727-858. Yes. A lot. Yeah, that was cryptic. That was very cryptic. And you know what? I feel as though some of you guys are sending me out to battle without any weapons. And I think that's Bush League. I think it's lowbrow. I think it's low class. By the way, speaking of lowbrow, speaking of low class, ESPN, do me a favor. Shut up. Like, honestly, I mean, listen, the talking heads, I get it. Everyone's got it. I got an opinion. We all have opinions. But I don't watch ESPN anymore. I don't. I can't watch these networks anymore because it's the same nonsense. It's the same, let's scream at the mountaintop. Let's push the narrative that we want to drive it home. And everyone thinks they have a friggin' hot take when jackasses like me are talking about it months in advance. Like, again, everyone's sitting there saying this, that, the other thing. You don't need to kind of piss on the kid, right? And mock him. And that's kind of what ESPN was doing. That was kind of what, L. Duncan was doing. I thought it was pretty low brow, to be quite honest with you. I really do. And then you realize you did something wrong when you have to come back and then ultimately try to defend that. Like, you don't need to look, he showed class again. And don't send me to crap that the mayor's didn't write that friggin' statement. Don't insult me. Don't insult the Giants. Don't insult friggin' Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones wrote the statement. PR read it. They signed off on it, and there we go. I mean, the kid was basically, he understood he was going to get benched. He understood his career was over. He understood he was going to get released, and that's it. Don't get me aggravated on a friggin' Friday now. Seriously. That's just nonsense. You don't need these networks to piss on these players, and that's what they do. And they're never held accountable. That's the problem. And they always think because they have the last word or they got the venue or they got the microphone. Sometimes you just got to you got to show a little class, show a little dignity. I mean, you're kicking guys, whether they're, you're kicking a guy while he's down. And I don't know, is that for ratings? I'm not a fan of that. And I would say if that was any quarterback, I'm not just saying, or any player, like sometimes you take it a little bit too far, right? You're mocking a guy. For what? Because he understood he was a likable kid. The franchise really liked him. They tried to do right by him. It didn't work out. So he's trying to do the classy, dignified, respectful thing. And then we're just going to tap dance on his friggin' grave. Get the hell out of here with that shit. Seriously. It's ridiculous. Instead, you know what? Let's focus on the Dallas Cowboys and Yankees and friggin' LeBron James dunking at 40. And let's do that for 17 times. Okay? Let's do that. Because that sells. Because we love to hear that. We love to scream at the mountaintop. And thank freaking God that screaming Stephen A. Stick him the hell away from the TNT, the NBA on ESPN. I don't need to get the hell out of here. Don't, please. I'll mute you anytime, man. Mute me. It's ridiculous. All right, week 12. Let me get into these games before we do our picks. And I want to get into some NBA. I'll give you a couple marquee games that I'm looking at. 727-858-6650. Joe D. Philly chiming in on Facebook. Q, looks like you got rankled again on a Friday. A little bit. You know what it is? It's the ex-madman. You pull up his comments. You know the problem with these comments are? He's an instigator. So he chimes in and he likes to instigate. You know who was an instigator too, Angel? Woody Woodpecker. Always instigating shit. Always. Stirring the pot and then just... Exactly. We got Woody Woodpecker. We got stirring the pot. We got political messages here. I mean, what are we doing on a Friday? Hey. No, let's keep it sophisticated. All right. Minnesota on the road against Chicago. Vikings laying 3.5. The Bears are done. The Bears aren't going to win another game this season. They're not. Their streak of losing, it will continue. Their only saving grace is they have a pretty decent record at home. I mentioned the Lions. They're a juggernaut. 7.5. I think the Lions are on a mission right now. I can see them routing Indianapolis. Tampa Bay for your Bucks down there. Tampa Bay, how is a team like the Giants going to respond? It's not like a player passed away. They just released him. So some of you guys calm down, right? I mean, no one's talking at his funeral. The kid's alive, collecting money, checking his bank account as we speak. Tampa's laying 6. I would not. Tampa to me has to be very, very careful. Here we go. The comments right now, this is what you guys are doing. You're trying to poke the friggin' bear. And we're not going to allow it on this show on Friday. We're not. You can pull ex-man. I know exactly where he's going. Go ahead. You can pull up his comment. Go ahead. It will be even more embarrassing when the Hall of Fame inductees are announced. He's taking a shot at Eli Manning. Vince chiming in. What do we got there? My Cardinals. There you go. That's right. You backed your play with that, didn't you? Our Cardinals to the playoffs take is looking pretty good. Yeah. Absolutely. I love what Murray's doing this year. Now, get him out of here. I don't want to see him on the board. No. I don't want to get him out of here. He gets a 5-minute ban. I don't want to see him on the board. No, the Cardinals are playing well. This is a tricky spot for Tampa. I think Evans is coming back, but as long as Baker Mayfield doesn't turn the football over, Tampa Bay should put up 20-plus points. The Giants are going to kick field goals. Nothing's going to change with that. Dallas, and you got Washington. Washington's laying 10.5. That's a big number. Juice to the over 45.5. Commanders will win this game. I feel as though this will be a 20-10 going into the fourth, and then they win it 31-10. Again, maybe 20-17. And by the way, I'm ignoring the text messages that are coming in right now. And I am totally, wow. I think it's still Tampa's division to lose. I think Tampa's winning that division. I do. It's not a very good division, but I think Tampa's winning that division. Kansas City should roll against Carolina. There's only a couple games that I think are going to be competitive. The 49ers against Green Bay. 49ers are on the road getting 5. This is it. This is your last stand if you're the San Francisco 49ers. Arizona, I actually love Arizona in this spot on the road against Seattle. I really do. Murray's playing at a really high level. They can score. They can move the football. They can run the football. They scored 26, 29, and 31 their last 3 games. I do like Arizona in this spot. I mentioned the Broncos. They had that big win. They look good. Bo Nix, we're talking about quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks. He's having a pretty decent season. He really is. And he's not turning the football over. Sean Payton's doing a good job. They're laying 6. You got the Eagles and the Rams and then the Ravens and the Chargers. And is it me or the quarterbacking play in the NFL? So Vince, X-Man, they brought up the Cardinals, right? Arizona, Kyle Murray. We talked about Baltimore slipping up last week, right? We talked about Kansas City tripping up, right? Lamar Jackson. No one's talking. Is it me? I mentioned all these talking heads, all these national talking heads and these goofballs and these clowns. But how come no one is talking about Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not talking about MVP like Patrick Mahomes. When are we going to start having a conversation about Patrick Mahomes? Patrick Mahomes has already thrown 11 picks this year. He's got 16 touchdowns. That's it. But we still believe Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. It's Josh Allen. Josh Allen right now is the best quarterback in the NFL. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson has come back down to earth a little bit. Jalen Hurts, we'll see what happens this weekend, but he's had a nice little run. He's coming up a little bit. So you look at those MVP odds, Jared Goff. And then I thought going into the season, my bold prediction for MVP was Justin Herbert. I thought he was going to have close to 5,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, and I thought the Chargers were going to be a surprise. I didn't think they were going to be this good. And that's a credit to what? The coaching staff and Harbaugh. So it kind of goes full circle like what we typically try to do. Sometimes you get these quarterbacks in place with the right coaching staff and you're good to go. But the Chargers are going to be a tough out. Denver's proven to be a formidable team as well in the AFC West. But Mahomes, L chimes in, Larry chimes in Philly. Q, I got Mahomes on fantasy. I was thinking about sitting him for a couple weeks here and there. I still know he's Patty Mahomes, and I know he's capable of lighting up. But without that solid ground game, I think he's an average quarterback. Yeah, you can't say that. His just numbers are not good this year. I mean, Patrick Mahomes threw 41 touchdown passes 2 seasons ago, 27 and 14 picks. Remember there was a stretch where Patrick Mahomes was not turning the football over? The past 4 seasons, 13, 12, 14, 11 picks. That's why I don't believe Kansas City. So I've heard a lot of people say that Kansas City is still the team to beat in the NFL. Okay. Back-to-back defending Super Bowl champs. I understand that. I appreciate all that. But they're leaking oil, and I don't believe they're a juggernaut. Now, again, the argument is going to be made, as Nick has commented in, as D has commented in. You mentioned Buffalo. I know you're on Buffalo. To paraphrase, Buffalo and Baltimore, yes, regular season. Playoffs is a different animal. That's correct. I can't see Pittsburgh going into Kansas City and beating the Chiefs. But I don't see Kansas City going on the road in Buffalo. I feel as though this Buffalo team is different. I think Josh Allen is dialed in. I think he's locked in. Obviously, they made a couple moves. They obviously had the trade at the deadline. I know people were getting on Romo saying, you make the move for Cooper in the offseason. No, trade deadline acquisition. It happens. It's a little mistake, not a big deal. And they can run the football. And they can play defense. And their ends can get to the quarterback. Buffalo, right now, in my opinion, is the most complete team in the NFL. Right under them, Detroit Lions. Because you got to go on the road in that stadium knowing no matter what, that head coach is going to be very aggressive and they're going to continuously sling the football, and you got backs out of the backfield. Hutchinson was a big loss, but they can still get to the quarterback. Their secondary, I get it. They can be exploited from time to time, but I am not confident going on the road and thinking I can score 35. I can't. 727-858-6650. Here we go. Vince, talking my lingo right there. 4 games with a spread of 10.5 in the NFL. Bad football. Too many unknowns. Yes, but this is why you start to look at, and I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, and I'm glad you brought that up. You start to look at first half lines, and I'll give you the perfect example, okay? First half lines. We had this the other day. We mentioned it on BYP. Houston and Dallas. And by the way, you caught a break because Cowboys kicker never misses, and he missed that kick. He missed that short gimme field goal. If you're looking at that first half line, if you had 4 in the hook, you were screwed. You had 4, you're fine. But point being, first half lines. Check out first half lines. So I'll give you a perfect example. If we go through these games, I'll give you 3 or 4 games. Let's say we go by the sentiment of, 7 is that tough number, 7.5, 8, 9. Detroit and the Colts. If you got a first half line of Detroit of 4, I would grab it and run with it. grab it and run it. Absolutely. Let me give you another game. Here you go, Kansas City and the Panthers. If Kansas City is -3 first half line, and I haven't checked because we know they changes, you have to grab that. If you're not confident with the 10.5 and them covering the number, take the first half line and if you do in-game live betting, second half as well, because you're going to start to see these bad teams that you guys just mentioned, mismatches, teams that are going to cover. Second half, you'll have a team hang around, and then all of a sudden they get their doors blown off. Hence, hang around at 20-10 late in the third. And then what happens? Final 31-13. And you covered the 10.5. And you're seeing that with some of these lines. And that's what the betting public, that's what the odds makers are telling you right now. Like, are you confident that Kansas City on the road should be getting 10.5 points, should be laying 10.5? Against Carolina, if you're not confident, then tease that down. Bookend it with Denver. Denver on the road, are you confident with Denver on the road against the Raiders? If you are, bookend it right there. And that's pretty much a pick 'em. Arizona is going on the road. That's another theme. You're talking about road favorites. Philadelphia, Arizona, Denver, Kansas City, right? Tampa Bay. We're talking road favorites that are laying 3.5, the hook, 3, 4, Detroit, 7.5, Minnesota. Pretty much all these 1 o'clock, all these early games, you're talking road favorites. So pick out again. Yeah, a lot of teams got alligator blood. A lot of them. Finish them off already. Kid is just hanging around. Check. You know what that's from, Angel? Finish the kid off already. Yeah. You know what that's from? Wow. I knew before the card was even turned over.
Darn it.
Rounders.
Oh, yeah.
Great movie. Yeah?
Yeah, it is a real good one.
I mean, if you're a Fugazi poker player.
Hey, ex-madman, every once in a while I get a brain cramp, so don't. Even Delco knows this.
Ridiculous. Can I touch real quick? Well, you know what? We'll do the picks. You know what? Crank it up. Hold on. Let's do it. Week 12, NFL. Q's picks brought to you by our good friends over at Play It Again, Sports 1450 Clements Bridge Road, and of course, Zen Auto Concepts, #1 detailing shop in Florida. And also, our segment is from our good friends at Back Your Play. 20% off your fresh roasted coffee. BYP 20 on a week 12 in the league where the players always back their play. All right. So I kind of gave you a little insight on where we like some of these games. So game number 1, we are going to take the Lions laying the heavy number 7.5 against Indianapolis. I think they rout the Colts. This has the makings of a 35-13 type of game. Detroit is just a wrecking ball right now. That's game number 1. Game number 2, I mentioned Tampa Bay. If Tampa Bay is a good team, you beat up the Giants, right? Now, I get it. You were thinking maybe you're going to get Jones, you're going to get Cutlets back there. The Giants kick field goals. They don't move the football. Tampa Bay should win this game. This should be a 28-6 type of game. Give me Tampa Bay laying the 6. Game number 3. I'm going with a couple upsets, and I think these are road upsets. I'm actually going with Arizona, even though they have to go on the road and they're favorite. I love Arizona in this spot. Seattle, we know, is a tough spot to play in, but they're 2-4 at home. They're not having a Seattle Seahawks like season, but give me Arizona on the road in this one. And this is going to rub some people the wrong way. I think the Eagles stubbed their toe. I really do. I think the Eagles stubbed their toe. I think that the Rams are going to be able to figure out and game plan against Saquon. I can see Jalen Hurts turning the football over here. I think the Rams are going to be able to run it a little bit, and I understand the Rams have some injuries as well. But this is the game where Stafford, this is kind of that spot where you look at the schedule in April. Can the Eagles stub their toe? here and here. Can they stub their toe? And I think this is where they're going to stub their toe a little bit. I think they're going to have to score at least 28-31. No Huff, no Smith. They're going to feed Saquon. He's got a substantial amount of touches. I mean, listen, how many are they going to keep giving him 20, 25 as the season progresses and wear him out? I don't think so. I think once they know they got a couple things kind of wrapped up, seeding wise, they're going to give him a little bit of a blow and a little bit of a break here and there. So again, Saquon will probably get his touches this week. I don't know. The yards might come a little harder for him, but I do love the Rams in this spot. That's my big upset of the weekend, game number 4. And then game number 5, I'm believing what Harbaugh is doing with the Chargers. And I think Baltimore is a flawed team. I think Baltimore is in trouble. I think Baltimore might be one and done come playoff time. I don't like them in this spot. I know they're laying 3 on the road. The Chargers right now are just dialed in, man. And you look at the numbers, Herbert, he's been playing at an exceptional level. He's not turning the football over. That's the main thing. He's not turning the football over. He hasn't thrown a pick, okay? He hasn't thrown a friggin' pick since September. And the offensive line, aside from the Cleveland game, Cleveland's got a good defense. The offensive line has kept them upright. I think the Chargers are at least 7 better than Baltimore, so I'm going to take the Chargers in this one. So that's your Q's picks on a Week 12. I mean, you guys are they're more inclined going back and forth with the comments than tuning in.
Apparently, because we have, I think ex-Madman was talking about wait, let me go back to his.
Pull these up. Go ahead. Pull these up. I'll read them all. I recently heard of a nice quiet lounge where you bring your own beverages. It's on 73 near Pennsauken. Great place to watch games. So he's referring to the old White House. Remember the White House?
Yeah.
The White House, not the one in D.C., but the White House, it was almost like towards Mount Ephraim. I believe you were allowed to get in if you were 17 or 18, but they didn't serve liquor.
I think you had to be 18, if I remember correctly.
But they gave you soda, and they also gave you some popcorn. See, the worst thing about going to gentlemen's clubs, because I used to DJ in strip clubs, but the worst thing about gentlemen's clubs is if you're taking your boys out and all of a sudden you want to go in the afternoon, they got the buffet. That doesn't mix. And you got the B team. That's bad luck. You see what Nick has to say. We got to get Nick caught up to speed here. I feel, there we go. There we go. Here we go. Nick's coming in. He was a little lost there, but he's a New Jersey guy. So you're good with us. Can't trust Tampa Bay coach, the old Jet coach. What's his name? Todd Bowles.
He's from New York, by the way. He said 718, so he's up in New York. He's in New York.
There you go, Todd Bowles.
By the way, Nick, Giants, Eagles. So we're not Bucks. I'm in Tampa, obviously, but yes.
But Southwest Florida, 102.9 the game, right? I mean, it's based. We're Tampa, so you got to just say, they know by now where the hell we are.
Well, no, Nick is new.
Obviously, you got the T-shirt on, and I'm bundled up already in friggin' November. What the hell? By the way, did you see the snow coming down last night?
Sure did. But speaking of, did you see that Kenny? Come on. You cannot be a Pittsburgh Steeler and try to blame the snow for whatever went wrong with you last night. He blamed the weather of why the Steelers lost.
Who did?
Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett's with the friggin' Eagles. He's the backup quarterback.
No, I understand that.
No, you got the wrong.
No, I understand it, but I'm saying that.
No. You got the wrong player.
I know I have the wrong player, but I'm saying that
George Pickens.
No. So the funny thing was, listen, it's not me. I'm just telling you what was reported earlier. I'm
telling you, got the wrong player.
No, I know I do. But listen.
Go ahead. Kenny Pickett, Wilson Pickett. Go ahead. Kenny Pickett decided to show up and play for the Steelers last night. Go ahead. No, finish it. I want to hear more of this.
No, so I was getting to what you were saying. So they put out the article saying that Kenny Pickett was the one blaming the weather for what went on in Pittsburgh. And then they never went back to put the actual person that plays.
Pickens,
correct.
The wide receiver. I got you. Is that like the article that was in the Connecticut? Let me see. The article that was in the Connecticut. Let me see. Jets Mosley could return after bye week from a herniated dick and neck. It's a what the frig Friday. We got to pull it up. I mean, that's painful. I mean, if you guys have better, you know.
I'm just telling you.
First of all, Nick doesn't need to apologize. We love the fact that you're new and you're chimed in. We're good with that, my friend. X-Man, who's just been instigating all.
He sure has.
I rattled Angel with the furry club and pins.
After he said he didn't bring it up earlier. Wise guy.
You like Tampa this weekend against the Giants?
Yep. I think they're going to be fine. Mike Evans is back, which is nice.
You like the Eagles against the Rams? I think if the Eagles, if they want to, they can start Kenny Pickett.
All right.
No, I'm asking you, do you like the Eagles in this spot?
No, I do like the Eagles in the spot. I think, they've won, 7 against the Rams now at this point. Not saying obviously they're going to, it'll be number 8. They can win the 7th game for sure, but they're 7-1 in the last 8 with the Rams. I like them in this spot. Sunday night, which is rare for the Eagles out in LA. Usually it's, the 4:00 game, but 8:20 Sunday night. I'll take it for sure. I think they'll be just fine.
That's just, I forgot that is a Sunday night game.
Yeah. 8:20 Sunday nighter.
Did they not start flexing?
I think they flexed a Thursday game. And I think it's been the first.
Well, you're a little spotty what you're reporting with the Kenny Pickett. So
I was putting out there exactly. I was getting to the point of the correct player. Yeah. I'm just saying with the article I put out there without them recorrecting it. Thank you very much.
I'm getting hammered over here. Giants shock the world. That's not happening. That's not happening at all.
So I think that's a Thursday nighter that the X-Man I was talking about that was talking.
Oh, Cleveland and Cincinnati. Yep. Really? Let me
Yeah, because I
there you go. That's a good pull. I'm fine with that. Can you hear me tweeting that out? I had to type something. Yeah, so those lines, they're overblown. We know that. But they're trying to entice you, right? It's hard to be confident and grab some of these teams 6, 6.5, 7 on the road. But as I said, the teams that are really bad in the NFL, and I think we can agree that the Bears are a bad team. They had a couple of nice wins. Here we go. They haven't recovered from that Hail Mary. Think about that. They lose that game. They didn't show up against the Cardinals. Couldn't do anything against the Patriots. All right. They hung around against Green Bay, and Green Bay got lucky. The block field goal, fine. They're not going to win another game. They got Minnesota Lions, 49ers, Vikings, Lions, Seattle, and Packers. So if you're looking at these lines, when I say lean the Bears, if you're confident and you got the payroll and you got the budget for it, or the bankroll, I should say, then why not? Take Minnesota and the 3.5. Minnesota's 8-2. They're 4-1 on the road. We know they can score. Quarterback against quarterback. I'm going to trust Darnold in that spot. So I'm a little more confident. So you look at the Bears first half. You look at those odds. You look at Indianapolis first half. You look at the Patriots. They can't move the football.
Right.
The Patriots stink. I got hammered for saying they were going to be a 4-5 win team. Oh, their defense. Jovan Alford was killing me. Their defense is good. They're 3-8. They're 3-8. Now, they're going to learn with a young quarterback. Then you got the Dallas Cowboys. Look at their quarterback situation. So look at the first half line. Washington's at home. They would love to just absolutely throttle Dallas because Dallas has had their numbers for years. They're going to try to run it up. So if that first half line is 3, 4, 5, I'm confident laying that number for Washington to go into the locker room up 20-6. Panthers are a bad team. They put these lines like this late in the season because they want to entice you to grab some of these lines or grab some of these dogs thinking they're going to cover. And more times than not, these games are not even remotely close. They're blowout games. All right, I know we got a couple minutes before we get out of here. What is your thought on what's going on right now with the Philadelphia 76ers and Joel Embiid? Because I've mentioned this over the years. I thought the window to trade him was a couple years ago. And I know people will say, the salary, the numbers. I don't care about MVP. I don't care. He's a dog. He's not a leader. He's out of shape. He's a selfish player. He's disinterested. He's not engaged. He's not a guy I want on my team. He's talented. And when he's engaged and healthy on the floor, he can be a dominant player, but he just doesn't have the ticker. So like now, when you hear some of the comments and the leaks coming out of the Sixers locker room and Embiid's banged up, this, that, the other thing, I mean, I think it's a conversation, again, that you really have to start to address with Embiid and where you think Embiid's going to be at and where you think the Sixers team is going to be at. I mean, you're a Philly guy, you're a Sixers fan. I look at Embiid, I think he's a total dog.
Yep. I didn't want him to be re-signed, but for some reason or another, they felt like they needed to re-sign him for a ridiculous deal that basically he's just going to steal money, the way you look at it. I didn't think when you've given up for the last 2 playoffs, you can't get off the playoff push. Now you got insert new head coach and Nick Nurse. He doesn't seem to resonate with him either. I mean, you already have a closed door meeting. And, I heard the people saying like, well, it's like nothing new. Sometimes this happens, especially when they're about 2-9, 2-11. I mean, it's so bad for the Sixers right now. If they expect to make any kind of playoff push, and I know it's early on in the NBA season, it's not going to happen. You have basically what?
Oh, Angel, listen, you start to get in the NBA right around Christmas time. Philadelphia 76ers right now, they're 2-12.
Right.
They've lost 5 straight. 9 out of 10. They're showing no signs of life. He's banged up again. He's questionable. I think he's questionable for tonight against the Nets. And they're horrible ATS, by the way, against, they're favored in this one. Go figure. What is this? The NBA Cup group play? Who gives a shit? I don't care about any of this.
I don't care about that either
at all. But I think he is such a front runner. I really do. And the fact that, he wanted to play in the Olympics and then he's out of shape.
Yep.
Now he's, not 100% healthy. This is why you can't pull up that comment one more time. That was a good comment. I got ripped in my group chat 2 years ago saying trade Embiid. Can't with me. No, you can't.
Nope.
You listen, a franchise basically. Oh, Nick, what a little confident there.
I'm on Nick. I think even Brooklyn can freaking beat him.
Yeah, he pulled the book in. I'm waiting on that. You give him a max contract. A max contract, mind you. Okay? 3 years, $200 million, or 3 years, $193, whatever the hell it was. That's a max deal. You're basically saying you are the face of the franchise. You are the face of the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Put these guys on your back. Put these guys on your shoulder. Lead them. Get out of the second round. Get to an Eastern Conference Finals. But see, today's NBA, Embiid wants to sit there and not have his ass parked on the low block. He wants to chuck it from 3. He's not Luka. He's not Joker. He's not those players. He doesn't want to run and play both ends of the floor. So now you got a head coach and Nurse that wants to run you up and down because his style is predicated on defense. And in the postseason, you got to play that defense, right? Second, half court offense. We're going to ratchet it down a little bit. And I look at Embiid, I would never, ever put money on him to win MVP because he's not playing more than 60-something games. Yep. But, he got pissed off because Marcus Hayes had that article when, to be honest, the article, when Marcus Hayes wrote what he wrote, talking about Embiid's unfortunate, his brother that passed, I understand when people say keep family out of it. I think his point was if he's going to play inspired basketball, or if he's motivated by someone's passing or a family member or whatever, if there's an inspiration behind it, where is it? I think that's what he was trying to say. And Marcus is the biggest shit stirrer in the world. We know that for 20, 30 something odd years with the Inquirer and now doing radio. He's very controversial. He has an opinion. He pushes the opinion, but sometimes he's dead on. And I think what he meant to say was, and maybe it was a poor choice, what he meant to say was, hey man, if Rich Quinones is going to play for, so-and-so's memory, where's that dog in him? You're doing a disservice. You're not playing for that guy's memory. And Embiid's not showing you. He's not showing you that. He's not putting in the time. He's not putting in the effort. He's unwilling to take that next step. He's unwilling to be great. He's satisfied with being good, very good, dominant at times, but not great. So when I pay you $193 million, and I'm telling you, here are the keys to the castle, man, and you come out of shape, you elect to play in the Olympics, we already know you got foot problems, knee problems, back problems, you're flopping all over the place, you're a front runner, you don't want to play both ends of the floor. In Philadelphia, where you got to bring your lunch pail to work, that shit doesn't fly with the fan base. They see right through that. So instead, you want to get in a pissing and shouting match with a columnist who at the end of the day is always going to have the pen longer than his career is going to be. We know that because it's been like that from the day of time, the start of time, with the press and the athlete. And then you're getting pissed off because you have a young star player on your team basically tell you, yo, man, you can't be late anymore. And that gets leaked out. Like, if I'm Joel Embiid, you know what I do? I take a look in the mirror. I say, yeah, you know what? Maybe these guys are right, man. I mean, like, Paul George, who's had a cup of coffee with the Sixers, who's banged up too, and Embiid are pissed off because someone leaked information in a team meeting. Maybe there's a reason they did that. Maybe there's a reason they did that to light a fire under your ass. I mean, seriously. And people are going to sit there and say that should all be kept in-house. You're sitting at 2-12. 2-12 on the year that you entered the season where people said, hey, what's the one team that can challenge the Sixers coming out of the East or the Bucks coming out of the East? Oh, it's the Sixers. Why? Because Maxi's emerging star. Embiid's motivated. He's getting a $193. Oh, and they just brought in Paul George. I mean, every time you bring in players for this guy, he's like Aaron Rodgers. It doesn't pan out. And he's looking around blaming everyone but himself. Like, I can't tolerate that. And I'm a Knicks fan. I'm not even a Sixers fan. But for years on the air, I had to deal with the process this and just the garbage, the nonsense coming out of the Sixers fan base sometimes. Like the delusional stuff. Absolutely delusional stuff. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, you don't want a player like that on your team because he's not willing to do what it takes to win. He's not. Allen Iverson was like 5'0", 6'0", but the guy had guts. He had heart. He played hurt. He exemplified what the city meant. That's not Embiid. It's not. The Sixers' best bet was to trade Embiid. That was their best bet. You're never going to win with a player that's not buying in.
Nope.
That's it.
Nope. I'm done with him. I'm done with the Paul George experiment, which all he wanted was money. So it's two guys, two sitting in the bank, just laughing through the drive-thru at the ATM. That's all they're doing, both of them.
Two Utes.
Exactly.
I had a suit.
You saw the suit.
You've seen it. Are you mocking me? Do you do drugs? No, I don't do drugs. What does he say? He goes, went to the dry cleaner, mud. But the one dry cleaner in town had the flu. Can you believe that? He had the flu. Today's athlete, man, especially in the NBA, look what Aaron Rodgers is doing. Aaron Rodgers single-handedly is blowing up the Jet franchise. It's just, he literally is just fracturing. The year Doc Rivers got fired, should have traded him. We will agree on that. Yes. Yep. And Doc was another one. Let's go up 3-1. Let's blow leads. Let's not know when to call timeout, stop a run. Oh, let's call timeout to stop the team's run. Let's not call the timeout. I mean, he was an overrated head coach. Every time when you look at these players, whatever the sport is, and if I start to bend over backwards for you, perfect example, Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers, change of scenery. I want to get the hell out of Green Bay. It's not going to work anymore. I'm not going to take Jordan Love under my wings. I'm not going to mentor this kid. I'm not going to teach him. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm Aaron friggin' Rodgers. Let me go to the Jets. Let me say that's a franchise. Let me take that franchise to a Super Bowl. And if I do that, I'm going to go down as the greatest of all time. Why? Because the Jets haven't won anything since '69 and Joe Willie. A couple AFC championship appearances with Mark Sanchez. And I'm not even talking about in the 80s, with the Richard Todds and a Ken O'Brien. So here you go. Don't get rid of Hackett because he's my guy. But if they got rid of Hackett, Aaron Rodgers one's coming. So it's almost like a package deal. Okay. I need players. Here you go. You got Gary Wilson. You got a good running back. Oh, here's Lazard. Great. I got my guy from Green Bay. Oh, I need another guy. Let's go get Adams. This is after you fire the head coach. And it still doesn't work. And then the GM is fired. When, as a player, do you look in the mirror and say, maybe it's not them, maybe it's me? I mean, am I off base here?
I don't think so.
But play like Embiid, the Aaron Rodgers of the world. And we've seen it through sports. Some players, a couple of you guys were mentioning, I think, Kyrie Irving on the comments. Kyrie a couple years ago, I didn't think he was ever going to play in the NBA again. Right? There you go. And now all of a sudden, you learn a little bit later in your career in life and you say the right things and you grow up and you mature.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers is a grown man. Embiid's a grown man. Like, when are you going to get it? When are you going to mature? Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Fame quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is done after the season. Aaron Rodgers is done with the Jets. They don't want him back. He doesn't want to come back. It's been a colossal failure, mistake. It's imploded. It will go down as one of the worst moves in sports history, NFL history, certainly for the Jets, certainly for New York sports. It was just a debacle from the start, and I screamed in the mountaintop, don't touch him, go after Lamar Jackson. Once in a while, I get one or two right. But Aaron Rodgers refuses to look in the mirror. Joel Embiid refuses to look in the mirror. Then you got a kid in Daniel Jones who has just been an average quarterback. And what does he do yesterday? He actually stands up there and he says, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough. Like, it's refreshing. Like, you banked your money. Good luck. I'm not sad that Daniel Jones got cut or released. I applaud the kid for standing up and saying, hey, man, I'm going to take the bullets. Never threw anyone under the bus. Embiid does that. Rodgers do that. Does it all the time. And I hope the kid balls out. He just can't do it with the Giants anymore. I like the kid. I hope he does well. You're talking about a kid that's had, a below average career, but yet stands up there and says, I was just not good enough. When you hear Embiid or Rodgers, it's never I. It's always we.
Yep.
I got to get back on defense. I can't flop. I got to get my ass on the low block. Yeah, I got to read. I got to make the right. Well, he threw Mike Williams under the bus. They cut Mike Williams, and Mike Williams turns around as a game-winning catch last week. You can't win with guys like that. You can't. You cannot win. Everyone wants the star athlete, right? The star player. Sometimes you don't need the star player. Sometimes you just need the right roster and the right head coach. Like everyone, all of my Jet fans and Jet buddies are constantly texting me, who's going to be the next head coach? Who's going to be the next head coach? Your guess is as good as mine. Rex Ryan is openly petitioning for the job. Were they going to go out and get Mike Tannenbaum again and Rex Ryan? I don't know. I don't think that's going to be the right fit, but we're retreading. Oh, got to go after John Gruden. Got to go after Belichick. Pull up the second. Yeah, that is a big time misnomer right there. Should have paid Saquon. He wasn't. Saquon Barkley was not going to stay with the Giants. I know I'm very good at. He did not want to be with the Giants anymore. Mike Lombardi on Twitter sitting there talking about another $5 million and that would have signed it. What the hell are you talking about? That's why you're an ex-freaking GM. The Giants should have traded, I said it last year, Saquon Barkley and got value for him instead of let him walk. They did. That's on the GM. You can't just you don't let the player just walk and not get any type of value back. And he's not putting up those numbers behind that Giants offensive line. Right now, he's offensive player of the year. He's in the MVP conversation and is sticking it to Giant fans. It's brutal to watch, but I don't care at this point. It's move forward time. It's horrible when your NFL season ends before Halloween. And all of a sudden, it's not 65 anymore. So, not good. I'm serious. All right. I know we got to start wrapping it up. By the way, tomorrow I'll cut a BYP with Lloyd and we'll talk about these week 12 lines. We apologize. We went over 6 o'clock. Thank God we didn't have any live programming. So real quick, 2 things. I got 2 shows. Nick, you don't have to apologize, pal. We appreciate you chiming in, pal. You say you don't get my opinion. Can I get to my 2 shows? Guess what I started to watch?
On Netflix?
Yes.
The Menendez brothers.
No. Dexter.
Yeah, but I mean, it's no longer a series anymore. But yeah, from the
Shit. That's why I started to watch it. It's
I
8
know.
seasons. Yeah. I'm on season number 1.
Okay,
Not bad. Well, it's set in Miami.
it gets better.
That's number 1. And I told you about Lioness.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yep.
fantastic.
it was good.
Last comment that is a ball breaking comment right there.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, some people are still upset. They lost a couple dollars at a blackjack table. I'll leave it at that. I feel as though there were a lot of shots from the viewing audience tonight. I felt that. I felt some. I mean, was it me? Am I being too sensitive on a Friday because the Giants?
Listen, we already know how X-Man is, so that's nothing new. So he likes to bring it. No matter, it could be Monday, he likes to bring it. And then you have Nick, who tuned in for the first time. We appreciate you, Nick, as well. But that's X-Man. That's what he does. He likes to just throw it up there, toss it up. Throw a layup every once in a while. Exactly.
Yeah. You know what? We'll get him on a Man Up Monday. All right. So you got the picks. Any games that stand out? You have any games that you like this weekend in the NFL? I didn't get to college. We got to start getting into college. I will say this college real quick because I know Vince is a big time college fan. Speaking of which, St. John's. Oh, that was a brutal loss last night, but that's in college hoops. That's besides the point. The one game I will be watching.
Yeah.
Now I do have a remote, so I'll have a remote broadcast tomorrow night. But I'll tell you the game I'm really going to watch: Army and Notre Dame.
Yep.
It's a Yankee Stadium. Army's 9-0. Notre Dame's 9-1. I think they're laying 14. I don't touch that from a betting standpoint. You know, Army and Navy, I don't touch those games from a betting standpoint, but I love Army. I hope they wax Notre Dame. I don't see that happening. That's a real good game to watch. I think that's going to be a very interesting game. BYU, Arizona State, that's going to be an interesting game. Miami, I think, plays Wake Forest. I think Miami plays Wake Forest. And then the other game, 3:30, I mean, Colorado and Kansas. You know, listen, I'll give Deion Sanders credit, man. They're bowl eligible. They're getting more recruits, right? Yep. So I'll see how it plays out with Colorado, but we'll recap everything on Monday. All right. So you got NBAs we mentioned. We'll put out the Week 13 NFL plays on BYP. Subscribe to YouTube channel Rich Q on Q. Don't forget Broad Street South and download DSR 1029, the game app. You can catch Pete Shepard Monday to Friday, 7 to 10. You'll wake up with Pete Shepard Show, Martinez and Company, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to 12. Oh, how did your interview? You didn't. I was going to text you while you were doing it. You didn't tag or you didn't tell your guest from, what was it, 13-Day Fiance?
What, the 90-Day Fiance?
Yeah, she tagged the freaking interview, man. You had like what, 1,500 eyeballs on that?
There was at the end, it was like 1,800 eyeballs.
Man, you tag it.
I know why, because I forgot. What do you want me to do? One man show. I had to try to remember that stuff, but I forgot it. But good thing is, I mean, it's up. Well, it was up there in the replay. It still will be anyway. But because then on the replay, obviously, you move on to the newer show. So today,
but you have it on demand. You have it on the Broad Street South channel.
Yeah, on Broad Street South over the YouTube channel. It's up there, so everybody can go back and watch it. But no, it was great. I'm thankful to TLC to make it happen, and she'll be back after the tell-all. So then we'll find out more juicy stuff, what ended up happening afterwards. But because the tell-all hasn't been done yet, we had to skirt around a couple of things and skate around a couple of things. But after the tell-all, it's going to be a lot more.
I don't think it's skate. I think it's skirt. You skirt the issue.
Okay.
No, wait, you skirt the issue, you skate around things.
See, told you.
I appreciate you tuning. No, wait, right?
Yep.
Skirt the issue. What, I'm done with the man today. Just stop. I'm done. He's
being cordial to Nick.
Yeah, I feel like we're at the diner right now. Everyone's being cordial. Everybody's friend. You know the diner talk, right?
Yep.
What's the greatest line in a diner?
Check, please.
No.
What's that?
Come on, man. You got that great waitress. What does she say to you?
What do you want? Coffee? What are you having?
Yeah. Oh, hold on. You're warm. You're warm. You're warm. Go ahead.
Well, I think other than she comes over, introduces herself, asks you what are you having, coffee, tea, whatever. And then after she comes, I'm trying to think, what the hell? She comes back, great liner.
You
What
ready?
else can I get for you?
Ready?
Okay.
Top you off, hun.
See, and now there it is. There it is. I knew he was going to do something. There it is. X-Men with
Wait, hold on. Hold on, I got another one for you. Ready? Freshen you up.
There are good ones.
You got freshen you up, top you off, right? One more before you hit the road.
Yeah. You can add that one too. That is true.
Look at that. It's all about the top.
See, I should have had the old commercial up there because the old commercial was you in the restaurant. And
yeah, that's true.
I'm going to have to find it in the archives.
Yeah, we will. And then you'll catch me Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays with the drive. BYP, that'll be up. The prop will be joining us from Delco. He'll be joining us with the picks as well tomorrow. All right. Everyone have a good Sports Friday. Appreciate the new viewers and listeners. You guys are fantastic. 727-858-6650. That'll get you involved. All right, Nick, we'll close it out with you. Go ahead. Do you really think Sanders is going to struggle in the NFL? Oh, now he's going to Madman.
Yeah, he's going to Madman. Yeah. See? And now they go, see? Uh-huh. I told you they're being cordial. See? They don't move around with that one, huh?
No, go ahead. No, let them go. You guys have the conversation. Go ahead. No,
they've been having conversations.
Madman, can you dive into that a little more?
Why did you
struggle? Go ahead.
He said it. Listen, they've been having side comments going back and forth throughout the program. That's what they do.
So, by the way, just to let you know, Marcus in the Northeast shot me a message on Facebook and said,
"Oh boy,
when did Kenny Pickett go back to Pittsburgh?"
Hey, listen, you can bust my chops if you want to. I was getting to the point of what you were going to come to, but I'm just saying that's what the article said this morning.
Wait, hold on. Go ahead. Pull up the comment.
Oh, Jesus. There you go.
Very accurate, but the NFL might be too fast of a defense for him. I don't think. I mean, we'll talk about that more later in the week, but I just wanted to mention that Kenny Pickett is no longer with Pittsburgh.
I was getting to that, but you jumped in it quick.
Hey, let's end on a real nice positive note. Let's end on do you have any FAU, FSU, FU, FAU, anything like that going on this weekend? Because I saw you posting pictures left and right. I felt as though, where did they stick you? Like behind the Mezzanine press box?
No, so you have the 100 level, and just right at that 100 level, that's where the media booth is, or at least the media section.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's where we are, and then you can get at least better pictures there because usually for USF games over at Raymond James Stadium, obviously we're way up top in the suites and stuff in the media booth up there. So that's why I go down to the field, take pictures there before the game starts, and kind of push them out because other than that. It's kind of tough, but no, they play tomorrow at home. Last game, which will be the Fan Appreciation Day, so you can win a bunch of good prizes out there at Raymond James Stadium. That'll be at 3:30 versus Tulsa, a must-win game to become bowl eligible. Other than that, they'll have to try at Rice, but they're hoping to do it tomorrow. All black out uniforms that they're wearing tomorrow, so it should be a lot of fun.
Hopefully that check clears for you by Monday. You know what? Let's keep it rolling. Nick, what do you got there? You're right about that, madman. You have to process super quick. I agree. I mean, these two can go all night long. There you go.
Sure.
Cam Ward might be the guy everyone wants. I mean, back and forth. It's the Nick and X-Man show right here on a Friday. We will get into more college and some of these top quarterbacks next week, I promise as well. All right. I know we are tight. Everyone have a good Sports Friday. Appreciate the banter as always, guys. Be safe, be sound. We will be back.
See, he knew he was you knew he was squeeze one
I
in.
didn't even get my live read in to get out of here. I can't even, ever go to Philly Junction in Fort Myers. Oh, he's a big fan of the Amoroso rolls.
Yeah. I have not been there. Whoops. One more.
Okay, what happened to Jacksonville quarterback? He looks like a bust. Trevor Lawrence, I think the verdict's still out.
Yeah.
I think the verdict. I guess we know on Fridays we got to keep bleeding into like 6:30.
No, but to answer X-Man, man, I have not been there yet, the Philly Junction, but they do have a great place out in Spring Hill, or the guy's originally from South Philly. His family, the entire family is.
You go out there, and I mean, what do you do? You tell them you're Philly, you get a discount on the rolls.
Yeah, okay, no, you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
I used to work in a Italian restaurant.
You too, Nick.
When I was thank you, Nick. When I was a wee lad, and they used to give me the bag of rolls at the end of the night in the freezer. Take those suckers home. Side note too, by the way. So when they ordered pizza and Coke, they actually put Coke in the pizza box.
Did he really?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I'm just no, let them.
Hey, there was again exchanging.
You know what I feel like we are right now? I feel like we're customer chat.
Thanks for what would it be? Well, because they're not calling in, so
no, they're not.
We
got
yeah.
Well, I mean, this is just good as the call-ins. All right. Monday, Pete Shepard, then you. I can't. I mean, can I just do my live read to get out? These guys are just chiming in at 6:30. They know we're tight on time, even though we don't have live programming. Did the Italian restaurant TV have hat cable television with squiggly lines? On that note, everyone have a good sport. No, they did not. I would have squinted anyway. Wise ass. Everyone have a good sports weekend. Angel Behind the Glass, keeping us on the air. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Give me a follow on X, IG, Facebook, and of course the YouTube channel, Rich Q on Q. BYP out tomorrow, new edition. Everything else on demand on SR 1029 FM The Game. Coastal Sports Network, Broad Street South. Until then, we will talk to you Monday. We'll recap all the NFL action, NBA, college football, and a Man Up Monday edition of The Drive. Have a good sports night. Be safe, be sound. Hasta luego, buen día.